It's been a while since I did a video, and I can't do any video of myself in this because I'm still waiting for the adapter for my video camera, which I lost. So this is going to be my voice and working in Blender to create an ATM machine, something like this, with not a lot of detail. So this is aimed at relative beginners like myself, as I always say. All right, so we're going to create this. It might be a little bit different. We'll see. So over here in Blender 2.79, I've just switched over to Cycles render, and I got my screencast keys on, and I'm going to get rid of the camera and the light, and I'm going to keep the default cube, and I'm going to go into front view 1 and 5, and I'm going to grab this Z arrow here, and I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to bring it up. All right, and I'm going to use the middle mouse button to turn around. I'm going to go into Edit mode by clicking the tab button and choosing edit. I'm using that little pie menu, but otherwise you'd probably just hit tab and go right in. I'm going to scale this in the Y, make it a little bit thinner. I'm going to go SY and pull in, SY, and then pull in like this. All right, so it's a little thinner, and I'm going to hit A to deselect, and I'm going to go into face selection. I'm going to grab this top face, and I'm going to pull it up to make it a little taller. All right, just like that. All right, so I want to create this little angle here. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put an edge loop in here. I'm going to go Control R while hovering over this in edit mode. Control R, and I get one of those horizontal pink lines, edge loop all the way through. I'm going to left click to accept, and now I can drag this up or down. I'm going to drag it to around there, deselect, and then while I'm still in edge selection, I'm going to select that edge. And with that edge selected, I'm going to pull in the Y direction on this green arrow. I'm going to pull like this, create a little bit of an angle there. Okay, so I'm just holding the middle mouse button and scrolling around. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over this horizontal line. I'm going to go Control R to put in another edge loop, Control R, and I'm going to roll my mouse wheel up once, and left click to accept, and right click to finalize that or enter. I don't want those lines that close though. I want them out in the X direction that way and that way. So I'm just going to go SX, scale in the X, and pull away, and that'll pull both lines equally to about there. I want to leave a little bit of room on the side. All right, so with that done, I'm going to go into face selection there, or I can go Control Tab. That I want to select that and then hold shift, select that, hold shift, select that. So I'm selecting all those. I'm not selecting the bottom or the back. And I want to push this out or pull it out so I get this central region. And the way I'm going to do that is, let me zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to hit E to extrude and left click to accept. And then I'm going to press Alt S, not just S, Alt S, and then I'm going to pull. Just like that, and I'm going to get that coming out. It's still flush with the back and flush with the bottom, but I have that region. Now I'm going to deselect, go back into object mode, and I think at this point I'll hit N and I'll come over under shading and click on ambient occlusion. That'll give me a bit of shadows, and I'm going to click on matte cap and choose this shader, which I tend to almost always use, and I'll hit N to close that. And now I am going to add a bevel. So I'm going to come over here to the wrench, add modifier, bevel. I'm going to choose 2 segments, and I'm going to change this to 0.05 or so, or 0.03, maybe that. All right, so I get. Now it's going to look a little bit like a toy, and that's kind of what I'm going for. I like this look, but we'll decide if that's too much bevel or whatever. Okay, now with that done, I'm now going to start working on the front panel. I think I might do 2 panels instead of a number key here. I think I'll have that as a screen, and I'll have another little one with the buttons you could press, and then so you could press the buttons and look in the screen. So we'll try something like that. So the way I'm going to do this is go into edit mode, and let's decide how to do this best. Well, we could try with edge loops. Let's try this. Let's go Control R. Now, if I click and then I move this, I probably should be looking from the side, but I just want to see how much this will. It won't really change the curvature by doing that. But if I click and I now wanted to change position of that, watch what happens. Let's say I want it down a bit. I want to go down in the Z. Well, that's going to bend the thing. Now, that is a very cool look, actually. That might look kind of neat with my screen there. But that's not what I'm going for, so I'm going to go Control Z. But if I use edge slide, and the shortcut is just GG, you hit G twice. Watch this. If I go GG, I can slide this along the existing edges, and it doesn't change the shape of this thing. So let's say, again, I go, oh, I want it a little bit higher. I can't just pull it like that. But if I go GG, I can pull it up like that. Let's put another edge loop in here and say, maybe I want my screen that size and my keyboard underneath there. So that could be okay. Let's put another edge loop in here. And I want it a bit higher than that, GG. I just want a little bit of space in between that one and this one. And I'm going GG, and I'll bring it down. And I'm going to put my keyboard in here and my screen in there. But I need some sides. So I'm going to go Control R, and I'm going to roll my mouse up, and I get two edges. And I go SX, scale in the X, and pull them out just like I did before. All right, so I can take this area here and I can make a screen. In this area I can do my keyboard in. Do I want them the same width? Maybe I will. All right, so maybe I can I select them both? It's the same angle, so I should be able to select them both and just extrude in. I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm just going to pull in a ways like that. Let's deselect for the moment and see what we got. We got that. Now I want to do a little bit more work on this. So I think I am going to angle this in. Maybe both of them at the same time. I'm going to select those faces. I'm going to go SX. I'm going to scale in the X and watch what happens as I pull them in. I get a little bit of an angle on this face right here. I'm going to go a bit more SX. So, and I'll come out in the object one, you can see. So you just pulled it in a bit. That'll catch a bit more light. And I think I want to do that on the tops as well. I'm starting to debate whether or not I like having the same width. That can be adjusted. But now, to do this, if I scale in the Y, I want this to come down and this to come up and this part to come down, this to come up, so I get an angle on the sides and the top and the bottom. I'm going to have to do a couple of things. First of all, I can't just go SZ, and that's not going to work at all. All right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to individual origins, and that's going to treat each sort of rectangle here as an individual. Still, if I go SZ, you see the way it's acting on each of them, but it's tilting it. That's not what I want. It might be a cool effect. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to normal. And now in the X direction is this way now. I'm going to go SXX and now pull them down. And now they act individually and in the correct sort of orientation. So if I come out, I get spaces like that. All right. So, well, whether or not I like it like that exactly, I'm not sure. Let's leave that for the moment, and let's go and make this spot where the money comes out. All right, so we'll go back into edit mode. I'm going to hit 1 for front view. I'm going to A to deselect, and let's put it somewhere in this area. So I'm going to go Control R, and I'm going to pull an edge loop up. Now I can just pull this up because this area is straight. I couldn't just pull it up here. And by the way, I should switch back to global, which is the default. All right, so we'll use that as a top edge. Let's go Control R and put another one and define the height of this thing that we want the money to come out of. And it might be a bit exaggerated here. So we're going to have a space here, but I want to have a little sort of partial rectangle that goes all the way around, then a little hole. So I'm going to go Control R, roll my mouse up. I'm going to get 2 edge loops, SX. Oh, now that didn't work. Watch this. SX doesn't work right. That's because I didn't switch back to median point. I had switched to individual origins, back to median point, SX. Now they'll pull apart. And I want to create here the thickness of the space. Okay. All right, we can do that, but I need one more edge loop down here at a similar thickness. Well, it doesn't have to be the same thickness, so that I have, here, I'll show you in face selection. This space all around here, I'm holding shift and I'm clicking. I'm going to bring that out to create that little drawer area that the money comes out of. All right, so I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to pull out just about that much. I'm going to go back into edge selection, and I'm going to select this top edge there and hold shift and get this one. And I'm going to pull back in the Y like that. Just like that. So I get a bit of an angle. So it's a little bit more interesting to look at, hopefully. Let's create the hole here. That's pretty easy to do. In face selection, select that. E to extrude and just push it in a certain distance. Doesn't have to go too far. Okay. So there we have that. And we're going to do some more work on that. We could do that right now. Notice I haven't applied the bevel yet. I'm leaving that. Let's try 0.02 and see if that does anything. It's not changing much, so that's fine with me. I want to create some little sort of rubberized, grips or tread or something on here. I don't know if that would really be there or not, but it might look cool. So I'm going to go into edit mode. And instead of bringing in a new object, I'm going to select that face that's there. And I'm going to use that to build the little tread because, it's right in the correct position. I might as well use it. So to use it, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to go Shift D, Enter. And then I'm going to go P, separate by selection. And if I go back into object mode, that now is a new piece, a new object. Come over here, go Origin to Geometry. That'll move the gizmo or the transform tool right to this piece here, which is, again, in the correct orientation and approximate size. But we're going to modify this a bit. Go into edit mode, A to select it all, and let's scale it a little bit on the X, SX. Just pull it in just a little bit. And let's scale it in the Y, SY, quite a bit, like that, nice and thin. Now we need to give this some thickness though, so let's go E to extrude and just pull up. Now the bevel, let's go back into object mode, is still applied to this because I copied it from this piece that had a bevel on it. So the bevel was sort of inherited. I don't want the bevel. I'm going to get rid of it. Now it's flat. Now, because I want to somewhat reduce the polys, I want to delete the faces, if I can, that aren't going to be seen. The bottom of this, if I push this down, all right, I'm going to make the treads out of this, isn't going to be seen, but I don't want to lift this up and try to find the bottom. I'm going to get rid of this top face, and then I'm going to flip it over. It's just easier to do it. X, faces, go back into object mode, and now let's rotate this around the X 180 degrees, RX 180. There. So the bottom is now gone. Okay, and I could bring this down until it touches. Might have to be a little shorter too. Let's go into edit mode and go SX. Bit shorter. Okay, what I will do though is I will add a bevel myself. I'm going to click this edge and shift click this edge. So I've got just those top edges, and I'm going to go Control B, and pull, and I'll get this effect. Just pull down a little bit, scroll my mouse wheel up once, maybe even a little thinner than that, and accept, deselect. Come back out. Now you see the white line there, it catches some light. It's a little bit of a bevel, but it's not beveling the ends and stuff like that. Let's take this piece now and move it towards the front. And maybe we want it down a little bit further, and let's add an array. In the Y direction going back, so this is the Y here. All right, you can't really see. If I pull this out, it'll say X, Y, and Z. So this applies if we check here, but because I've got to check here, this is the value. So I'm going to tug on this till I see it going back. See it's going backwards. Get rid of the X, put that as 0. It's only going backwards in the Y. That's maybe a little bit too much. And then I'm just going to increase the count until I see it quite far towards the back. And that's going to increase my polys a lot. But that's the effect that I'll get. All right, and if you decide, you know what, I think it should have been longer, I can just go SX, and I can still scale it all. Hold down Shift if you want to move in small increments. You know, maybe you like something like that. Okay, so I do like that. I'm going to hit Apply. I'm not, however, going to join it to the body because that's going to affect my bevel on the body yet. So we're going to wait till we finish, and then we'll apply the bevel on this, and then we'll join everything. While we're here, let's go ahead and work on the little section where you plug the card in. So I'm going to select the body, go into edit mode, and look at what I've got here. I'm going to put it up here. Okay, a little section where you slide your debit card in and something else protruding. So I'm going to go Control R to put an edge loop, click, and pull it over. And I'm going to do another one, Control R, I'm going to pull it over, and I want to create this thing right here that sticks out, and then this little space going in. All right, so I want this about that closeness. Now this can affect the bevel. You see it updating in real time. Let's do another one for the hole. Nice and close by, and do one more. And this one's going to be very close. Just a thin little hole. I'm not sure I want it that tall though, so I think I will put in another couple of edge loops. Maybe there. And maybe there. Okay, let's come out and have a look and see how much my bevel has changed. It will change as you make manipulations, but that's looking a little tighter now, isn't it? So I'm very happy with that. Let's go back into edit mode, and what we're going to do is find those regions, go into face select. This one is going to come out, so let's now just hit E and pull out to maybe there. And this one, not the one right beside it, give a little bit of space. That one is going to be indented in. E, and I'm going to just pull in. It doesn't have to go in too far. There, just like that. So you'd put your debit card in there, and this is some other little piece. Cool. So far, so good, right? Let's do something on the bottom first. Yeah, we'll do the bottom. Let's get rid of this grid floor. It's kind of annoying. So hit N, and under display, uncheck grid floor there, and hit N to close that. Let's select the model and come underneath. Now we got a lot of stuff going on here, so what I think we'll do is we're going to select all of these faces. I'm going to hit C for paint select, and I'm going to just click and drag my mouse over. That selects them all. And I think I'm also going to select those, but I think I'll hit escape to drop that and zoom in, and I'm just going to shift and click and add that to my selection. I want all of this stuff here. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to, it's debatable how you should do this to save polys, but I'm actually going to copy it. Shift D to copy. And do I need to make it a new selection? I don't think I do. Let's try going X and dissolve faces, just like that. Okay, and that'll make it all one big N-gon. I to inset, pull it in like that. E to extrude and pull it down straight like that. Let's try that. Okay. So now we have a little interesting kind of effect on the bottom. Polys are not too high yet. Let's keep going though. Let's go into the object and look at the side. All right, C to paint select and grab all of these sides. And I am going to copy this, Shift D. And I think I will make this a new object. I'll hit P by selection, go out, and there's my main object, and there's the side I just make. Let's go origin to geometry, and let's go into edit mode and select it all, just like that. Doesn't affect the rest of this. And let's do the same thing. Let's dissolve edges. X, or dissolve faces. One big face. Now we're going to hit I to inset and pull it in a bit, and then E to extrude and pull it out a bit, not too much. And let's have a look. That's still got the bevel on it, and it should adhere nicely to the side. So it looks like a little panel. Now what we'll do is we will select this. Let's make some little bolts on this. I'm going to be bringing in a circle to make these bolts. And I want to bring that circle in right at this plate, not over here where the 3D cursor is. So let's bring the 3D cursor to there by going Shift-S, with it selected, right? Shift-S. Cursor to select it, and that'll bring it right in the middle. That's close enough. Shift A, mesh, circle. I'm going to leave it at the default values, but let's rotate Y 90 degrees, and let's bring it out a bit, and then just in edit mode, or in object mode, we'll scale it. All right, let's get the approximate size. Hit the period key to zoom in, and then zoom out a bit, and let's bring it closer to the panel itself. Let's go into edit mode, and with it selected, F to make a face, E to extrude and pull out, and Control B and bevel back and go 1, 2, okay, to add some edge loops and round it a little bit. Now I will get rid of the back. I'll pull it out and go back into edit mode and select that face, X, and delete, not just dissolve, delete faces. Okay, back into object mode, object mode. Bring it in, and then let's have a look and see if that's going to look good. Let's position it where I would want it. It'll go up in the top corner here. And I'm feeling that's a little bit big. So what I can do is I can just go S and scale it down in object mode. And I might even scale this in the X so it's a little bit flatter. Here, let's hit the period key and zoom in. It's a bit faceted, but I'm going to use smoothing in a moment. All right, let's just position this. So let's go ahead and click smoothing. And that's fine. So let's Shift D and copy it over to here. And I'll take both of them and I'll go Shift D and I'll bring them down. One is going to be in the corner down there. We can zoom in on that a bit. And I'll deselect and I'll grab that one and I'll swing it out to that side. And 3 is the side view. Let's put one more right there. Shift D and I'll just hit G to grab and I'll just pull it up by eye, put it there, and see if we like that. Okay. All right, now I want to join these to this side panel. So I'm going to select the panel and I'm going to apply the bevel on that. And then I'm going to select each of these and the panel and go Control J for join. And it's done. We've got the panel and the bolts. We should save this, of course. ATM video. Now I want this panel on the other side as well. So I'm going to select my main object and go Shift S, cursor to selected. And that, if I look at one, that'll put the 3D cursor right in the middle of my main ATM machine. So I can mirror around this. So I'm going to select my panel again, add modifier, mirror, and select that. And I'm in the X direction, and that'll put one right on the other side. I may not apply that mirror yet, because if I decided I wanted to come into this, and, you know, let's say I wanted to inset again, that wouldn't really work very well, but, you know, scale Y and scale Z. Let's say I wanted to do something with this and go in a little bit. I'm not saying I'm going to keep that. Say I like that, it would appear on the other side, but I don't want to do that. I just want the panels for now. So I won't apply it yet. Let's do a little bit more before we work on the screen and such. Let's put like a little safe on here where the money would be stored. Let's just put a couple of edge loops. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel up, and I am probably going to go ahead with that region I just made. Select that face, E to extrude. I'm going to pull it out a bit, just like that. Let's go back and have a look at that. The bevel is still being maintained relatively nicely. We're going to make a handle for this. So I'm going to select this face because I'm going to bring in a new object, and I want it to show up right here. So I'll go Shift S, cursor selected. Wherever you put your 3D cursor, this red and white circle, is where your new object will come in. And I tend to make my objects separately, not always in edit mode. So there's my 3D cursor. So if I go Shift A, mesh, cube, it'll bring a cube in right there. Edit mode, S to scale, and pull in. Scale it right down, period key to zoom in on whatever you've got selected. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to scale a bit more. I'm going to make a handle out of this. So that part's good. I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to extrude out this way. E to extrude. I'm going to pull it out like that. And then I'm going to scale it in the Z direction, so it's a bit thinner. SZ. I'm going to go like that. Now, as I look at this, I'm thinking, it looks more like a rectangle than square. So I want to change that. I'm going to select it all, scale in the Y, and just make it a bit thinner like that. Very good. I also want to do something. I'm going to go Control R. I'm going to bring an edge loop down here. And in face selection, okay, I'm going to select this piece and this piece. And I'm going to extrude them out this way, but then I'm going to flip the handle backwards, as you'll see. So watch this. E to extrude. I'm going to pull out just a little bit because I want this thing to be like the end of the handle. So your fingers could go on here and they won't slide off. But this piece, I just deselected this piece, I want longer because this is going to connect to there. All right, you'll see what I mean in a second. Now I'm going to go back to object mode, but because I've moved things around, my gizmo or transform tool is not centered on this. So I'm going to set origin to the geometry. Now it is. Doesn't matter about the 3D cursor. Rotate this 180 degrees in the X. RX 180. There, so I built my handle. It's not done yet. That could connect. See, that way you can put your hand on and your fingers won't slip off. Let's put a subdivision surface on this. So with it selected, add modifier, subdivision surface, and change the view to 2. And then let's come in and put some edge loops in this so it looks better. Control R here and pull an edge loop down there, and Control R here and pull an edge loop up there. And you can see the way it pushes the mesh around. Let's do the same down here on this piece. Control R, close to the end. I don't always go right to the end. Control R there. All right, so far so good. Let's do some here. Control R down there, and Control R and pull it up there. And then we can look at this and decide if that's enough. I think we're going to need more here. Control R, I'm going to pull one in here. And I'm not going too extreme because I want some curvature. Let's deselect and look at this with smoothing on. Just like that. Now maybe that handle's not big enough the more I look at it. So let's go into edit mode, select it all, and let's just globally scale, S to scale. Back into object mode and pull it out a bit. Now, should I be getting rid of that face or multiple faces? We could certainly do that if we want to cut down a bit. I could select that face and this one, X faces, and that'll actually straighten that out, and then we can pull it back in. All right, let's do a bit more work and then we'll decide if that handle is big enough. I want some bolts on this. I'm going to grab these bolts by going into edit mode and selecting a piece of that. Let's zoom in a little bit more. And then I'll go Control L, and that will select all of the polys that are linked to this one. And now I can copy it. Shift D to duplicate, P to make a new object. Click on it, and now the transform tool is up there. Origin of geometry will come right down to our new piece that we've copied. So Shift D to copy, and then Control P. Now, oh, how about that? See, oh, we got two of them. Well, that's because there was a mirror on this whole object, and it's inherited the mirror. I don't want the mirror. I just want one of them for now. We're going to need to rotate this. Rotate Z 90, but minus. There we go. Okay, bring that down, bring it out. We can zoom in on with the period key, 1 to look at the front, and we'll make it a different size so that it's not exactly the same. Nice and small like that. Make sure that it is embedded and in the position that we want it. Roughly equal here and equal there. One from the front, Shift D, put another one here. I'll grab both of these, Shift D, and we'll bring them down. And I'll do one more, Shift D, we'll put it right in the middle. And just for the fun of it, I might take these two, Shift D, and I might put those right in the middle as well. All right, now this handle, I think this handle needs to go back. Okay, cool. What we can do is we can select all of these to make our life a little bit easier, and we can join them. Control J, just leave it at that for the moment. And the handle, I will apply the subdivision surface because I'll be joining stuff later anyhow. All right, excellent. So all very simple things to do so far. Let's work now on the, well, I don't think there's going to be much to do with the screen there, but this area is going to be the keyboard. And maybe we'll put the letters ATM up there or down here. I'm not sure. Now, the way I'd like to do this is select this face because I'm going to be putting buttons in here. And I need to know how big they should be, etc. So I'm going to select actually everything that's flat here. All that area would be like keyboard area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this first. Shift D and P, make it a new object, sort of breaking it out of this object. So I've got main object and that piece, origin of geometry. So I've got this piece right here. All right, now it's inherited a bevel. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's move this M and then click on the layer you want to another layer. So I've got just that. And let's set the origin of geometry and Shift S, cursor to the selected. I'm going to look from the side and I want to straighten this so I can work on it. It's easier if it's straight. We'll be bending it again later. RX and just start pulling it up. Hold Shift if you need to and get it as straight. That's fine. That's good enough. One, look at it from the front. So there is my piece. All right. And I'll do Shift S, cursor to selected, make sure everything's just fine. Okay, cool. Now, let's go into edit mode, and you will notice I've got more than one face. So let's select it and go X, dissolve faces. But if I go into vertex mode, you will find extra vertices that I don't need. I need the corners, but I don't need those. So I'm going to go X, dissolve vertices. Now I have just a typical polygon. I'm going to give this some thickness. Am I going to do that? Yeah. E, I'm going to pull back just a little bit. And I'll select it all and go Control N in case I went the wrong way and my polys were flipped. Now, the more I think about it, I do want a bevel on this. So let's go ahead and add bevel again. And I will select 2, and I will bring down the width just a little bit so I just see it. I can hit smoothing if I want. And I've got a little panel there that I can add buttons to. Let's select it and hit the period key to just focus in on that. Okay, so it's time now to make some buttons. And the way I think I'll do this is I am going to actually use this piece. I'm going to Shift D and pull it forward. So I've copied it. I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to select it all, A to select, and I'm going to scale. Like that, and then I'm going to scale in the X, and I'm going to make a square. Scale now in the Z. This is Z. Let's also scale in the Y, give it some thickness, SY. Pull like that. So we're giving it some thickness as well. And we're starting to create a button. And I'm not saying that's the final shape of this thing. Period key to zoom in. And we are going to have some issues. So I'm going to put in an edge loop here and slide it up like that. And I'm going to get rid of this back face. X, faces, delete. Let's pull this back as if it made contact there. And it still needs to be changed in size. So I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to selected, so that my 3D cursor is right on this button. And now I'm going to S, scale it again. I'll scale a bit in the Z, make it a bit more squarish. I'm going to pull it up, and I think I can get 2 rows of buttons. I don't want them too small, or they'll be hard to see. They will be hard to see anyhow. This is pretty small. Okay. Origin of geometry, Shift S, cursor to selected. At this point, you have to decide how much detail you want to put on the button. I think I'm just going to leave them blank like that. But let's see if I can get like 5 across, first of all. So let's hide that. Add modifier, we'll put an array on in the X. I'm just going to increase the spacing. Let's go for 5. 5. And then I'll have like a return button. So I can go a little bit more. I actually want to go for 6 because I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. So let's, let me just see. Yeah, let's go one more. And that's about balanced there in terms of centering. So let's just go Shift D and copy that down. And then look directly from the front and decide if we like the spacing and everything. I think it looks just fine. All right, cool. So what we'll do is I will go ahead and apply that array and then we'll join these together. They should still have the bevel on them. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And I want this to be my return button. So that what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit mode. And because I joined them, I'm going to select this face and this face. If I can get it. And delete. This face and this one. Come on. And delete. And then I'm going to switch over to edge selection and Shift Alt. Hold down Shift and Alt to select the whole edge. I don't want to just go that one. Okay, I want to Shift and Alt, and that selects the whole joined edge. And Shift Alt and do that one. And then I'm going to join them together. Control E and choose Bridge Edge Loops, like that. And that'll join them together, just like that. Okay, let's have a look at that, and we'll see that we got some funny stuff going on. All right, let's undo that and see what's going on. Let's select that and hide it and see what I've done here. If because I added that edge loop, I have some other little pieces. I think, what have I done exactly? So here's what I could do. What can I do? I could try getting rid of this edge loop here on both of those. X. I'm just going to go dissolve edges. And then let's try to, in face selection, get rid of that face. In this face, X, delete faces. Let's try that again. Actually, let me flip over to vertex and see if I got any extra. No, that should be okay. Control E, bridge edge loops. I'm going to select that edge. Shift Alt and click that edge and that X, dissolve edges. I really don't need those edges, and that actually managed to straighten it out. I guess something was up higher. So let's go Alt H and bring that back. And that would be my return button. Now I realize it's a little hard to see any great detail. You could put numbers on these if you wanted, but I think for this video I'll just go with this. I'm going to join these pieces, so I'm going to apply the bevel. And this one I'm going to apply that bevel. And I'm going to take this and Control J. And just make sure I got everything. Yeah, I got what I needed. I want this all centered up though now, so I'm going to set origin to geometry and Shift S, cursor to selected. Everything's right in the middle. Let's see. Maybe I do want something else. Maybe I want little bolts on here. We could do something like that. Let's try some other stuff. Let's bring in a circle. Rotate X90 and scale it way down. And move it over. And let's hit the period key to zoom in. That's still too big. Let's say I wanted something up here. Okay, so let's go into edit mode, and with it selected, let's hit E to extrude. Let's bring it, oh, it's not, F to make a face. First of all, E to extrude and bring it out. Let's go Control B and bring it back, and roll our mouse up a couple times. And there is no back, and that's great. Let's just press it in there and hit smooth. That's a very, very small detail, and it may not be visible, but let's go ahead and Shift D, we'll copy it down to here. And then we'll take both of them, Shift D, and we'll copy them to the other side. There'll be like little bolts holding this panel. Let's select those in the main panel, Control J, and join everything together. Awesome. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put this into place. So I am going to Shift and click the first layer with the second layer selected as well. I'm not going to copy it into the first layer yet. I'm going to move it back a little bit, and then I'm going to hit 3 to look from the side and Z for wireframe, and then I'm going to rotate in the X, RX, and I'm going to try to match this angle. I'm going to switch to normal, and now I should be able to do a little bit better. Well, that didn't do what I wanted it to do exactly. That's all right. Let's go out of wireframe and have a look. Okay. Just position it a little bit more. Until we like what we see. I think we're going to need to rotate this a bit more. It's a bit hard to tell. Oh, maybe around there. Okay, so it's in. Yeah, those, that'll be my buttons. Maybe you like it looking better flat. You might like that a little bit better. Okay, cool. Let's add something else. Let's add the letters ATM right there. All right, so let's go into this and let's select this face and Shift S, cursor to selected. All right, let's go back to just global, and we can bring in our text right there. Shift A, come down to text, and let's, in the text field over here or panel, let's choose center and rotate X90 and bring it out a bit, and we'll just start scaling, and we'll position it roughly, and then we'll get some font that we like. Yep, period key to zoom in. That's looking just fine. Let's choose a font. So you just navigate on your computer over to your fonts, and I won't spend a lot of time on this. I'll just choose this one. All right, and in edit mode I want to say capital ATM, just like that. And what we'll do is we'll come up to here where it says, whoops, depth, and we'll bring up the depth. You can also increase the space between letters if you feel that helps. And that's pretty good. I could increase the resolution a bit, might help the letters look a bit better. And now from the side view, I'm going to go RX, and I'm going to rotate it back till it looks like it's good. I'm going to pull it in. I'm not getting rid of faces on this. I can try normal. Yeah, that's better. And I can adjust it this way. Let's look from the front. And we would have that. And I can scale it a bit bigger, as big as possible. And once you're satisfied with it, I'm going to go Alt-C and choose Mesh from Curve, convert it to a mesh, and it's done. And that could be all that we need to do for this. So I would then look at all the pieces and apply the mirror. There's nothing on there. I'll go back to global. And there's nothing on there. So the main body, I can apply the bevel, and now I can start joining. Shift that, Control J, the panels, Control J. Now, this is if you don't care about adding materials. It's harder once it's all joined, but I'm okay with that. Let's take the bolts and the body and the handle and the body, Control J. And it's now all one piece. And it's sort of in between low poly and mid poly. All right. It's got some N-gons in it, but it's a nice little, cute little model anyhow. All right, so that's how I would go about modeling the ATM. Thanks for watching.